My name is Chrissy McRoberts, and I am an owner of Dog Eat Dog. I've been a furniture builder for 8 years and decided to get a store in Mitten Village 3 years ago, and it has been nothing but a dream ever since. I was in the military as my first career. I had always, as my teenagers, worked in the hotel industry at the Holiday Inn. And then I had moved to the States and worked at hotels again, food and beverage. But I always watched my bosses make decisions based on what their bosses told them to do without ever questioning maybe something that in your area or what your staff could do better, or it always had to be this. And I always sat and thought, if I had my one chance, I would go on my own, strike out on my own, and make the most educated decisions. And I couldn't help but think how much money was always being wasted because they wouldn't reach out and just ask for someone's influence on the decision that was actually acting it out. So yeah, I did. And I found that it was the people. I hate categorizing people, but there are those that are very comfortable going to a job, getting paid every 2 weeks, and they feel comfort in that zone. And I was, if I slack or I bust my butt, I still get paid the same amount and really have no control over raises or anything else. So those people were fearful for themselves to think about it and not me. And it confused them as to why I would be willing to lose money on and off, on and off, on and off for the rest of my life. But the highs make up for the few lows that you have. My sons, I have 2 adult sons. My sisters were amazing. My family was amazing. But the first time that I went from the girl that was always covered in sawdust working for out of a shop in her backyard, I went to the Cube organization that was just happened to be in Lambton College. Yeah. And there was a young gentleman named Tom Pays, and the gentleman at the time that was running it was Christopher Mish. And these two sat me down and said, listen, you got a good thing going here and your spirit for the community is awesome, but the pitch you're putting out for your business. And I said, no, I don't care about what I look like. You're looking at my furniture. And they said, no, every time we ask you about your furniture, you're doing this and you never stop because your passion is going and you have to put you out there. And I went home very frustrated and sat on that for 24 hours thinking, you don't know how I want to do this. And then I recognized that they were correct, and it's been nothing but gold since. I always said it to myself, maybe just being my own cheerleader to keep the fear away. But when people started coming to me saying, I love that you fundraise, or I love that you're out in the community, I recognize you not because you're in your videos, but because you go and involve yourself in the community. And I thought, you know what? Selling will come and go. Artists will come and go, but the community's here forever. And I have to live and work here. So there has to be a meeting of the priorities, and one is the community and one is the business. And if the two can mesh, I've won. It took me a long time to look at your question and think about that. I honestly still at this moment can't define. I can't give it an exact answer. It was like I get to live that every day is Friday. Everybody else is, right? The paycheck people, no matter what shift you work, they're always like, oh, Friday, it's Friday. And I wake up every day going, it's Friday. I'm happy to do this. And it's hard to answer the hard questions when in my mind, everything that I have decided to do was so easy. There was never a struggle. Like the struggles are day to day, right? But not
that probably is a reflection on you looking at something and saying, there's nothing that's insurmountable.
Absolutely. There is no ceiling. and there's no challenge that can't be talked out, right?
Exactly. You can work your way through it, talk to the right people, analyze it, get the right answers.
And
Go
I
forward.
reach out to people, so that's what helps me. I'm never in my head saying it always has to be what I think it is. I talk to the most random people. If they talk about the store, I ask them questions about it. Like, what did you like the best? Or how did you feel when you walked in the door? Or when you saw the front of the building? How did you feel when you walked in the door? Was there a change from the outside to the in? Like it was a surprise that you opened up? Like I ask everyone all the time because information is that's the success, the key to success right there. Recognition in the community for the right things. Last year, I was not a member of the chamber at that time, but when the OBAs were coming around and people were allowed to nominate, Dog Eat Dog and myself were nominated for every possible category we could have been in. And that's the community that votes. So that moment of just getting the phone call and sitting and thinking, holy cow, like sometimes I get in my own head and I live in my little bubble and I just go to these different entities and I don't really listen to what people are saying. So that was kind of that blow you away moment, thinking, wow, people really see we're not just a business, we're more than that. And that was incredible. Single day. I'm not the typical woman, so like the feminine and the softer edge, I'm pretty rough, and people feel comfortable and they can put you in a category.
Right.
So when we are supporting inclusion and diversity ed, and people assume that I'm one thing and maybe I'm not, and men will come in here and look at the furniture that I've built and they really have to get in and examine it, and I'll come over and say, the only thing that's wrong with me is that I'm not working harder to build more furniture to impress you. Like, honestly, I can talk to anybody, and I probably do feel more comfortable around men just shooting the poop, but they definitely need to know you're either the one that if they raise their voice, you're going to tear up, or you're the one that's so badass that you'll crush everybody in your path, and they just don't have room for that person that's in between that wants to be, easy going, but still at the same time I want to help everybody. And yeah, I'm aggressive. I got a little bit of that in me.
Yeah. So they struggle to categorize you sometimes. That's all right.
Every day, every conversation, it's always there. And women are the same way with me though. So but it's worse from the guys. Definitely, we have 13% of our shoppers are men. What does that tell you? And we have a lot of masculine items in the store. So do they not know about us, or are they afraid to come shopping with their wives, or are they afraid to come shopping by themselves? Every day being involved in the store is a success, right? And it's tough to gauge what your success is. I think that I am moving more in a way. On the weekends, I try to consult people in other businesses because I want to tell them what I did wrong, what they could possibly do to avoid all of that. And I'm kind of a squirrel, and I'm ADHD. And so everything's always going all the same time, and it's tough for me to focus on just one thing, which is probably a bonus for running a store. It was brutal. Oh, it was, I was on a roll there right before, and one of the artisans, Ruth Ann, came in as a business partner. So COVID hit. She came in as a business partner in January. Like it was, she came in as a business partner. COVID hit in March. So it was devastating. We weren't online as a web page. Like we had to pivot. But I found that I had a 3-year goal to incorporate different entities onto our web page for other stores and reaching out to community. And all COVID did, when people started to close their doors and businesses were dropping out, I went in kind of a flight or fight And I was fighting for everybody. Don't close if you don't have to. Don't feel devastated. We can find somebody to help you. I mean, I did everything I could. I sent out just under 1,100 private messages to different businesses in Lambton County and said, if you need anything, you've got to reach back to me and let me know. And out of the 1,100, some responded and told me what they needed. 21 of them reached back out and said, this is good for me, but what do you need? And I was stunned at the first one because I thought, how many hundreds did I already go through? And everybody was just panicked about themselves. So the 21 people that said, but how are you doing? Their logos are on my minivan. So when people see me and they say, hey, how do I get my logo on your van? I'll say, be a better business person in this community and we'll talk. Like, be more involved. You have more going for you than just having a building, and then you drive ways away from where your building's asking for business. You got to do more than that. And if we can build our business community and we work tighter, we'll become a destination city. Da 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 da. My van is just the beginning of that, and it's a good story to tell. I find that there's everybody's an entrepreneur if they want to be. There's a difference between being a business owner with an entrepreneurial spirit. And if it's just not some little gig you're doing from home that you just want a little petty cash. Like, I mean, you really see it as a business. I say, can you go a year with barely, and I mean barely any money, like ramen noodles and cups of hot tea? Could you go on and off with that and not go out to events or take weekends off, or you know that your family or your spouse or your kids are going to be able to deal with that? Now let's talk about the real thing. Because if you can't get over, it's going to be hard. It's like your first year of university. You don't know where you're going. You don't know how to do homework. You don't know how to place your time. And if you can fathom that in your mind, yep, I'll do whatever it takes. Let's move on to the next level. Business owners, we've had a long history of business existing, and I have to protect me. Everybody else is I'm in competition with them, but we're not. And it all comes from fear. So if you have a business that's struggling with their bookkeeping or struggling with maintaining their inventory, it's not weakness to reach out to someone you think is crushing it and say, listen, I'm really good at this, and I'm not saying you're not, but I need help with this. Can we do a tradesy here, or can you just meet me for a coffee and let me pick your brain? And it shows great strength that you want your business to succeed, that you would actually trust someone else in your community to reach out to. Every Sunday morning, I tell people all the time, from 8:30 till 1 o'clock, I meet at Blackwater Coffee. And I just sit there and wait for business people to come up and ask me questions. And then I'll ask them. And it's not like anybody's teaching anyone, but we're seeing it from different points of view that might build up their media or build up how they run things, or they're looking for a loan. Well, guess what? Here's one over here, or this one's coming up. You never know. And if we don't have a safe space with no judgment to just come and have a coffee and kind of get to know each other, there's nothing wrong with that either. And just say, I'm having a problem with this, and you seem to be doing it well. And then it builds, or you can put them in contact with another business owner that's really good at it. Why can't we let the guard and the egos go and just come out? Because the city would flourish. Like, we could grow the sign wars when COVID was on. Look how all the businesses jumped on that, and we were having a blast. And nobody thought, oh, but what if I say this, or their feelings will be hurt, or no, we just went out and did it. And now we need to do it, and do it forever and permanently. My sister's talked with me about this a million times. Every once in a while, I'll kind of say, oh, and she'll say, listen, you had to learn the lessons you did. You had to go through all of this. And honestly, I went the worst possible route I possibly could have to be able to reach back to the other people and say, this might happen. This could be the worst case scenario. Can you live with it? Or I had to go through that to be able to be this vocal with other entrepreneurs and say, it could happen. So you have a place to go to learn to not do that, or a person to reach out to. or you're going to repeat what I did and just learn the lesson.